Hello, hello. Okay. Ready?
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Ferguson City Council meeting. Let's call the meeting to order. Let's stand for a silent prayer. And now the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Pittman, is there a quorum present? I'll call the roll. Please call the roll. Councilwoman Ferguson.
Here.
Councilman Cattock.
Here.
Councilman Franklin.
Here.
Councilman Palmer.
Here.
Councilman Williams. Is absent. Mayor Jones. Mayor Jones has an excused absence per her email. And Councilwoman No. Here.
Others? Are you? Councilman Williams.
Okay. We will now move to the public comment section. You all have 3 minutes to address your public comment. When you come to the podium, please state your name and your address, and please be respectful of the time. At the end of the 3 minutes, please conclude your sentence. The first person, I take it?
Yes, first I have. Make up the first name, not the last, Jerry. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jerry Jasper, and I'm just a little bit concerned, no, quite a bit concerned about people don't want to keep funding the consent decree. We're not going backwards. I mean, we can't go backwards, so we gotta pay for stuff until we meet all the requirements. Otherwise, it's ridiculous, because right's right and wrong's wrong, no matter who you are. No matter if you pretend like you live in my ward, but you don't, and then you win, that's wrong. And if you lie, that's wrong. And if you lie a bunch of times, just like that man in the White House, doesn't make it true. So I hope people can do the right thing, because we've come too far to go back and with the nonsense. That's all I have to say this time.
Laverne Mitchell.
Laverne Mitchum, 508 Hunters Ridge Drive. Good evening, council. Okay, paper hat here. Ferguson Council seeks to end consent decree. Now, what I'm confused about, who told you all you can end the consent decree? Now, I know you cut the allocated money. But the post is saying you seek to end the consent decree. Now, some of you know I was on the council, even though they did everything to keep me off. When the consent decree was signed, I was on the council. I think it was the first time in the history of Ferguson to have a majority rather, Black majority. Now, here's my concern. We have had citizens working on committees, neighborhood police steering committee, community relations. You've had all these people who love their city, concerned about their city, working all this time. And I always go to the status hearings. Recently, I didn't. But we would usually get pretty good reports. I know we're approaching the 10th year, but I looked up some consent decree information today. A lot of them That was pretty much the marker, 10 years. So this is what I mean when I say, are you all working for the best interests of the people and the city? You're not perfect, but are you sincerely working for the best interests of the people and our city? This brings on a negative light. Like back in well, not as bad as 2014, but come on, you all. Work for what's the best interest of our city. That's all I have right now.
Thank you. Jerry, no.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Knoll, resident of Ferguson, 1237 Deer Ridge Drive. And tonight I'm speaking both as a resident and also as a member of the Civilian Review Board. As a resident, as previous speakers have expressed, I'm concerned about how the council is evidently going to reduce, or maybe a better way to say it is cap the funding for the consent decree, and whether this will actually violate stipulations in the consent decree. Please don't put our city at risk of violating a court order. We've seen at the federal level what's going on. There's similar things going on, but please don't bring it down to the local level. Paragraph 460 of the consent decree, which I'll quote, says the parties, and the city of Ferguson is one of the parties, the parties agree to defend the provisions of this agreement. Doesn't say to defy the provisions, says to defend the provisions of the agreement. So seeking to modify the agreement is fine, but unilaterally refusing to abide by it is not. I also saw concerning comments that indicated a lack of confidence in our current city attorney and the legal representation that we're getting. If that's true, get a second opinion. Get a second opinion from other legal counsel if you don't trust the counsel, the legal opinions of our current city attorney, or look for other legal representation. But please don't use that as your lack of confidence in our city attorney as a reason to defy the court order. Now, as a member of the Civilian Review Board, I want to push back on some assertions I saw that basically said the monitor does nothing, or stop paying someone who isn't doing anything. The CRB has been the beneficiary of work done by the monitor. Jamil, there you are, and Lamika, former Civilian Review Board members that are now on the council, have both seen some of that work product and testified to that. So the monitor has helped the Civilian Review Board, which is a volunteer board, to become better at its job in several ways. And by a happy serendipity, I'm giving a presentation about the Civilian Review Board tonight, and I'm going to mention some of the ways that the monitor has helped the CRB. Thank you.
Cassandra Butler.
Hello, everyone. Hello, council.
Cassandra Butler.
I'm sorry, what? I've lost my fourth pair of hearing aids. What am I supposed to do? My name is. I thought of after Jerry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening. Lots to talk about. But I just want to go back about a year ago, a little over a year ago, when I went to Jill Crawford's house the Unity Slate had a fundraiser, and you were recruiting or asking David and Lamika to become on the board, as well as Nick. And the slogan was the Unity Slate. And I just want to look at this unity, the Unity Slate, because you indicated that Other people on the council did not want to get along. And so you recruited David and Lamika to be on the unity slate. But it was obvious that last year's Legal Women Voters candidate forum, you had not even bothered to educate them about the issues of Ferguson. I have to believe this was by design. You just didn't want them to have enough information to make decisions without help from experienced slate members, i.e. to avoid their being independent. I want to commend Ms. Lamika for her desire to be independent. It showed through the abstention vote she made 2 weeks ago. What also showed through was this was not how Mike Palmer expected her to behave. In this meeting, in her desire to wait and get direction from the city lawyer, she asked Mike to defer his motion to totally cut out 3 consent decree expenses. Without hesitation, Mike simply said no. It was apparent that he expected her to vote with him, even though she desired more information. And this is why he won her on the council, sad to say. Again, Lamika, I appreciate your desire not to merely mimic his vote. I also feel this behavior regarding the following week's vote to half CD expenses in those 3 categories supported my regular assertion to the judge that a major issue with the slow compliance of the city with this consent decree is this micromanaging of the various city managers and police chiefs over the 9-year period. This is a clear case of micromanaging. By attempting to force a negotiated time to end a decree by defunding the budget of 3 expenses after 2025 works at cross purposes. Usually a move to move a deadline up requires more work and more money. Definitely not the same. You are assuming the work is linear. Moving a deadline up typically increases associated expenses. In fact, even overtime expenses are to be expected. And I wonder, did you consider that you voted to cut the salary of the person that you're most dependent upon to get to this deadline? This is a second job for that person. An accelerated deadline could mean that that person may decline to continue in that capacity. Did you think about that?
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
Let's face it, you didn't think about that.
Mildred Klein.
Mildred Kleins, 7444 Castro Drive. Racism is expensive. Resistance to constitutional policing and court reform is expensive. Encouraging and enabling discrimination and racist practices by the financial director, the city manager, the police chief, city staff, and the attorney were done here in Ferguson are expensive. Resisting from day one to the findings of the Department of Justice is a main reason why this process has taken as long as it has taken. I'm referred to as a small group of agitators. Well, I'm also a part of the 70% Black population that make up the majority of this city. You are part of the small white supremacist group that wants to hold on to and maintain power over Black people. I've lived here 37 years. I've lived here 37 years, and I speak from observation and experience. There's not only racism, there's not only a race problem here, there is a class problem. Ever since Michael Brown was murdered, I've worked hard and volunteered, giving time and money unselfishly to help my community heal and move forward to a better place for all of our citizens. But no, you white supremacist-minded people here in Ferguson are still trying to power grab and control this now majority Black city. Yeah. You're even recruiting a few Uncle Toms along the way. That's okay, because we've always had Uncle Toms amongst us who work against their own interests. Now, If the shoe fits, that's you. I'm asking you to see the consent decree to its completion and don't defund it. See it through to its completion. The last time you tried to change the consent decree in all of your arrogance, giving ultimatums to the federal government, they slapped you with a lawsuit immediately. This is not the time. We, the residents of Ferguson, need to see the new changes, policies, procedures, and training taking place so that we are in compliance and agreement to the consent decree. I've attended nearly all of the court hearings to give the court feedback on the progress that's being made. I've told Judge Perry that even the resistance from the inside, Ferguson has made good progress, but more work needs to be done to ensure the community's trust and confidence. I won't forget how the Black bodies were used and abused physically and monetarily. My shoulder still hurts today from the injury I suffered from one of the Ferguson police officers.
Thank you, Ms. Klein.
I wanted to see if the consent decree if it's not fully funded by the means,
Your time is up, Ms. Klein.
if the consent decree is not funded
Your time is up.
by all the key players, then
Ms. Klein, please be respectful. Your time is up, please.
the city of Ferguson has been sued so many times and there are lawsuits still pending.
Your time is up.
I didn't sue because I'm trying to be part of the change.
Please stop. Be respect me enough to
So
stop.
if the consent decree is not completely funded by the means, all the people,
Ms. Mills,
which means the attorney,
I'm gonna
the
have to
consent
ask
decree
you to leave.
coordinator,
Ms. Mills, you're gonna have to leave.
the consent decree coordinator,
Please stop. You are disrespecting me, this council, everyone. Please stop. I'm asking you to please respect.
whoever else it takes to make this a
stop.
trustworthy system. If we don't get this right, the community, so that the community can see the change, the city of Ferguson, as we know, it will not survive another round.
No, you can't do that.
It will not survive another Brown wake-up call.
We do not need this.
If we don't get this right, the community, so that the community can see the change, the city of Ferguson, if you let me finish this sentence, I'll sit down. If we don't get this right, so that the community can see the change, the city of Ferguson, as we know it, will not survive another Mike Brown wake-up call.
Ms. Klein, that was not respect.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I believe that personal attacks and insults are not permitted either. So calling people Uncle Toms and white supremacists is inappropriate.
No, he did it. No, he started that. No, if you took it personal, it must be you. Well, get your counsel down, the William.
Calm down.
Calm your counsel's head down.
I text you the next evening.
Erica Brooks.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the next one because she's not showing up. I'll come back. Trayvon Walker.
Mr. Walker, before you come to the podium, please stay within the 3 minutes. Whoever comes up and does not stay within the 3 minutes, and if the timer goes out, I will ask the officer to answer politely out. Please,
I got you guys up on.
as Mayor Pro Tem, like, respect Mayor Jones, respect the council chambers, please.
No intent exists to not respect the council chambers, but thank you for your comment. Yes, ma'am. Evening, council, Clerk Pittman, city administration, and Ferguson community. I am Trayvon Walker. I go by Vaughn. My family and I moved here shortly after the Ferguson uprising, where there was remarkable and likely unprecedented engagement for the residents in the city of Ferguson. I currently attend professional school in Washington, D.C., and here with my family for the summer. The matter before us concerns not preference or politics, but the law. The city of Ferguson is party to a binding legal agreement legal instrument, pardon me, the consent decree entered on April 19th, 2016, US v. Ferguson. That agreement carries the force of federal law and remains in full effect. The record is clear. As a result of a federal investigation conducted under the United States Code and the Civil Rights Act, the US found that Ferguson had maintained a pattern and practice of constitutional violations, particularly with respect to revenue-based policing and enforcement in policing. In response, the city undertook and repealed several unlawful code provisions, and these laws were not merely repealed. Paragraph 37 of the consent decree states that they must remain repealed. The city agrees that these provisions of the municipal code, this is a direct quote, will remain repealed and will not be replaced with any similar ordinance. To defund these functions, whether through inaction or cuts, is a frustrated enforcement of the very provisions the city has sworn to uphold. Doing so will place the city out of compliance and risk remedy under paragraphs 119 and 120, which grant continued jurisdiction to the U.S. District Court. The city's obligations under this decree are not contingent upon preference. They do not change in leadership. They are binding, in quotes, officials, agents, employees, assigns, and successors. I submit this not as an appeal, but as a plain recitation of the law. When we repeal injustice, we must also fund the machinery that keeps it from returning. Thank you.
Okay, Fran Griffin.
I heard you. I heard you first time. Good evening, you all. So it's not surprising that Attorney Carey is not here. As you all know, I've sat on the seat before. I'm pretty sure he probably gave you a suggestion not to move forward because you hadn't spoken with the judge. You all do, well, let me not say that because some of you weren't there when we made the consent decree. As the people were saying, literally, we went through a year's process of negotiating this consent decree. And then someone on council decided they wanted to make a change at the last minute. And Loretta Lynch said, you guys are getting sued. We've been under a consent decree process ever since. So it goes without saying that your city attorney is actually advising you smartly so that you don't end yourself up in a problem. Here's the other thing, and I don't know if you guys know as well. The judge who oversees the federal consent decree decided not to retire just so that she could see this process through. History matters. What happens in the past matters so that you don't repeat the next steps. Right. Use your voice. Understand who you are. Right. I'm talking to you as my sister. We didn't go through, you can laugh all you want. Did you see that? You understand it. I'm at 3 minutes. You didn't stop me now. We gotta go back. I got a minute and some left. My whole purpose in saying that is for one, as a city council, you all should be smart enough to know that when the attorney advises you not to go against a federal consent decree, that somebody would say, hey, it's probably not a good idea. Secondly, we're over. I mean, I get it. Budget-wise, we're over 70% Black. So the consent decree, we're paying for ourselves. Yes, that's true. But on the other hand, if the project is to go towards someone who is not looking to invest in equity, who's not looking or interested in investing in underdeveloped areas that would have to do with the consent decree, it's a problem. It's a problem because what you're doing is taking those funds and putting them into something else when the whole purpose was to address racism. Nick, you was up here all day long talking about consent decree and how much we gotta do this and how much we gotta do that. So I would be very surprised now that you got a friend up here to turn around, for you to turn around and say that it's not needed.
Right.
The work needs to be done regardless of if we paying half, none, whatever. The work has to be completed. I'm being very clear about that. But in terms of us, you all, first of all, we already know that the federal judge put it on hold, right? Why would you wait till we're on hold to make a decision like that without talking to the judge? Without getting an okay or a signature from the judge that this is okay to reduce these prices? Y'all thinking, you're not using your brain, and you're putting the city at risk.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have one online before I come back. It's Henry Iwinofu.
Good evening, council and the citizens and the attorney and everybody else that I couldn't see from here. The young man and friend eloquently reminded the council of their obligation. President Trump's administration will be gone in 3.5 years. And the litigation and the issues that Ferguson faces will be there long after he's gone. And if you have any belief that, you can do whatever you want and you'll be scot-free, believe me, when he's gone, or maybe if Congress is able to stop him in about a year, you will begin to feel the decisions that you're making right now. You are there as a representative of the people, not as a representative of yourself. And your political immunity that you have can be pierced if you do something. You have an attorney there, he can tell you if you do something that is contrary to what the law wants you to do. But hey, I'm just a citizen. I'm just telling you guys, it is important not to let your emotion drive you. It is always right to do the right thing by the people, not for a few people, not what you think for yourself, but to focus on the entire community. Racism is well and alive. It didn't start today and it may not end tomorrow because of ignorance. When someone thinks that they're better than somebody else because of the color of their skin or where they are. But at the end of the day, we all are of the same human race. There's only one race. So if you think that you're going to take actions because you are in the city council right now, and in the next 3 years that it will not affect you, the young man represents the future. He's intelligent. He understands. I'm an old man. I may not be here then, but they will revisit the city. And the young people will not visit the city kindly if something that we were doing before goes back again. And you think that 2014 was bad, good luck. So I'm asking you guys to really withdraw your desire to dismantle this process and walk and thank the chief and every other person that has moved this forward and move forward. I applauded the group last time I spoke. Move forward, don't go back. The train has left the station. The population is growing and is not, you can't push it back. So hopefully you guys can rethink about your action. I'll be in court. I couldn't make it today because I'm with my daughter, but I'll be in court and I'll address the court on my feelings. I think you guys are wrong by trying to undermine this process. Thank you for listening to me.
I have one last comment. It's Erica Brooks.
Okay, I understand all of that. And I find it very, very strange that when you get in that seat, that you remind everybody that it's for something that's for us, that you do what you do. But I understand that you say all that stuff before, and please don't start my time, because this is not a part of this comment. Octavia, that wasn't a part of my comment right there. Because it was not fair for her to come up here and telling everybody, the ones that are for the consent decree, about that. But we understand all that.
Okay, I would appreciate it if, like I said, don't put no noose around my neck, okay? I'm just saying, it's not fair. Okay, so as you know, I'm standing here because I think about 2014, Ground Zero. You all didn't want that place over there called Ground Zero because you don't want that smear on your face as a city. It doesn't make sense to do what it takes to be racist. And like I say, all the people that died, walked these streets, you wasn't here to go through what was going on. Because I was right here living in the city when Molotov cocktails flying past me, tear gas. So you can sit there and reap the benefits of what Black people are having in this city while you sit there and talk about getting rid of stuff. You know, it don't make sense for these Black people to sit up here and don't get it. Right. When your ancestors have fought and died for you to sit there in that seat, to have an opportunity, to have a voice for your community. And to say that you want to cut my funding, and Nick, you always cheered and said, I was out there in the midst of the, while stuff was going on. But you can sit here as a council person that's supposed to be a voice for this community to keep justice for people. But I can remind you about when we were at the special election for Tony Burrow, when you stood out there and told me in my face, I don't have to worry about being ripped out of a police car because I have white privilege. That's what you told me in my face. And I said, could you please explain to me what you just said again? I said, because if you're running for mayor, because you was running for mayor then, I said, if you're running for mayor, there's no way a mayor that should be about inclusion, equity, and diversity should be thinking about himself. He should be providing laws and inclusion to where we all know that anybody should not be pulled out of a police car, no matter what color you are. And so, like I say, to hear you sit there and talk about how much the finances cost in order to have a written piece of paper that's supposed to bring justice. You got a flag up there about a new turned leaf that says basically at this point, I'm turning that leaf that my ancestors had in this community of segregation. All you gotta do is say white power at this point. That's it. Because when you are taking away something that's bringing justice and inclusion and telling you all not to be racist against people of color just because of their color, and you want power with it, it's sad. It's ridiculous. So if you're talking about justice, why messing with that money? You're talking about taking money away from Octavia's assistant. That's ridiculous. This lady right here, she keeps the city going. Why would you take funding from her? Why would you take funding? I'm talking about with the budget. Yeah. Okay. Her assistant. Okay, yeah, that one. So I'm just saying, when it comes to justice in this city, you got one flag that's flying for a new leaf, but you're also stepping in the space where saying, I don't appreciate Black people being in this community. I don't appreciate you having the right to be able to have justice. Remember what you said, Nick. So all the people that's going to vote for him for mayor if he runs again, you remember what you got sitting up here. Yeah. Who's cutting the justice for your Black people in this community. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend.
Actually, yes. So there was some confusion about the list because there's two lists out tonight. Richard, say your last name for me again, please.
Buteau.
Buteau.
I will. No, so I'll get you back on schedule. My name is Richard Buteau. I live at 21 Colchester. Please understand, honoring the consent decree is not about money. It's about honor. Yeah. Ferguson, through its city government, consented to this decree of obligations. Individual council members may have disagreed, but the council spoke on behalf of the city of Ferguson. The councilors of today must ask themselves if they are honorable people. Does the Ferguson you speak for honor its obligations to a legitimate court order? The financial implications are secondary. As we talk about the costs of implementation, we must also ask about the costs of Ferguson refusing to pay its bills? How will the Ferguson respond to contractors who no longer trust our word? How much will the doubt cost in civic financial negotiations? How will current and potential citizens ever trust our city council or individual councilors? Again, if you betray a federal court, you betray us, and you betray anything that remains of the good name of Ferguson. I yield my time.
I don't have anyone else.
Public comment section is.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
My name was on there, but.
Well, I have you on the other list. You,
You want to speak now, sir, or with the public comment for the budget?
There's a whole nother.
Sir.
Speak now during the budget. Of course. I'd like to speak now.
Okay, come on up.
Thank you, Miss.
State your name, sir.
Sure. My name's Wendell Phillips Berwick. I was named after the abolitionist Wendell Phillips. You can call me Phil. Thank you. Oh, absolutely not, man. I live in Ferguson. I'm not sure I want to tell my address with what's going on in here. I bought the house of the plumber, the guy that wrote The Plumber's Crack in the paper. Anyway, for those who don't know about the consent decree, I think everyone in here knows it. It was supposed to be a fine of $450,000 a year for 3 years. And there was a list of things that we were supposed to get done. We actually were doing those things even as that list was written. The consent decree was enacted to make us an example, not to correct our deficiencies. We've done that ourselves. It was meant to make us a scapegoat, punish us for the rest of time, not caring about the end process. Any racist police that were once here, they've left. Okay, okay, they've left. Any racist cops that were here, and they were here, and they were everywhere, they're gone, or they're in the ground. Thank God. Thank God it's not the past that matters, but that we can repent of that past, or we're all on our way to hell. All of that punishment money, council could have gone for so many positive things from one end of Ferguson to the other. But instead it went into the pockets of a lawyer, friend of a past president. We never got to utilize any of that, any of it. The consent decree was to shame us, to shame us, to shame us and our town, and to continue to use us as a shameful example, and it's prevented us from becoming a model town. I also submit the mayor or someone who's righteously indignant about this on the council, contact our Attorney General of Missouri, Andrew Bailey. I believe he would go to the docket of a bullying judge on our behalf, and we wouldn't have to pay him. And tell me what the DOJ has done for us that we have not done for ourselves. Why is the money not gone for kids' programs? What has gone out to benefit us? What are the positives? Why? That we need to keep going to punish ourselves? On and on and on. Our school system ranks so low, it's so poor. I go to the school board meetings. I don't know if anyone here goes to the school board meetings. Our teachers have PTSD. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. The train has not left the station. It's blowing off steam. Thank you for your time.
no. No.
Okay.
Well, hold on. We got a hand raised.
He said it's fine.
What's your name, sir?
Bobby Steele.
Okay, I have him under the budget part, but if he wants to speak now.
I'll speak now.
Okay, come on up, sir. You have 3 minutes, please. Don't go over 3 minutes, please.
Well, if we're breathing, Bobby Steerwall. If we're breathing, we want to be happy. Every single person in here. And last night, we had the book club spoke about the Radical Atlas of Ferguson, USA. Very insightful. Part of what we talked about was community. And we talked a bit about what is community. Well, essentially it's about relationships, but working on good relationships is hard work. And it's not going to improve just by speaking in the comments section. There needs to be some meetings where people get together to talk about these things. And I'd like to give you a very good example of how that happened. Back in 2018, I spoke in the first city council meeting of in January 2018 and told about 2 men, a white cop named Andrew Collins. I hope you remember Andrew Collins, look it up online. A corrupt cop who wanted to be the top cop in his town. And so he was framing people. One of the people Andrew Collins framed was Jamil McGee, who was coming out of a convenience store about to go see his newborn child. But Andrew Collins said, I woke up that morning, and this is after he, shall we say, repented. And he said, well, I still had to go when I woke up at being top cop. And he framed Jamil McGee for some drugs. FBI fingerprints to hate, it's not the same guy, but he pushed it through. Jamil McGee went to prison for 4 years. And Andrew Collins got caught for stealing informant money on drugs. Both of these men independently became believers that Jesus died for their sins. And when they got out, they had it out. And it wasn't pretty, but they had to work together at some sort of halfway house called Mosaic. And would you believe they forgave each other and became friends? And for the last decade, they have been going around the country speaking about forgiveness, reconciliation, which simply means making friends again. Isn't that what we need? I would like to see, I said it in 2018, say now, these guys go around the country. Wouldn't it be good for us to hear them speak? Well, I heard the echo. Can they be allowed to answer why? Why not?
Okay, that concludes the public comment section. We'll now move to the evidence report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Noah. I just had a few events that I wanted to point out for the mayor's report, so I'll keep it brief. First and foremost, we have the Juneteenth event this Saturday, June 14th. It's over at Forestwood Park from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Completely free event. Please come out and support the community. There's going to be vendors, food, all kinds of things going on for families alike. So please come out 4 to 9 over at Forestwood Park. Next one I want to mention is the Farmers Market. As you know, it's every Saturday at the end of October, 8 to noon on Saturdays down at Plaza 501. Next summer concert series, Friday, June 20th, Plaza 501 from 7 to 9. The band that night will be Jam. And then we have the 4th of July celebration coming up, of course, July 4th. The parade starts at 10 a.m. Festival down at Jerry Wabash Park is from 6 to 9, and fireworks start at dusk. Last thing I wanted to mention, we do have a pop-up splash pad party. It's at the police station on July 26th. It'll be at the police department parking lot from 2 to 4, completely free event. They're gonna have water activities, all kinds of stuff for the family, so please come out and support that event as well. But those are the things I wanted to highlight for this evening. I don't have anything else for good time. Thank you.
Now we can move to the, presentation. Special presentation tonight, this is civilian review board update, Mr. Jerry Noel, comes to the podium for your report.
Is there a cover here?
There should be one up there.
This one. Well, council, every once a year, the CRB, we try to give a report. I think this might be the fourth year in a row that we've done it. And I'm going to cover a few things, why the CRB was formed, just to remind everybody why we were instituted. I wanted to talk a little bit about the help that was given to the CRB by the monitor, because there were some things out there about the monitors not doing anything. And then complaint and crime statistics. So I'll try to see if I can get this to go. Do I need to point it anywhere?
No, it should be able to just go. Let's try this.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Did that work for you?
Okay, so why was the CRB formed? So we're in the consent decree, and the reason we're in the consent decree that the city needs a civilian review board is the Department of Justice investigation of the Ferguson Police Department. These are some direct quotes from it. I'm happy to say that that is no longer true. None of these quotes are true at all now. At one point, the police department didn't respond meaningfully to complaints, did little to investigate, not treated complaints as really complaints. None of that's true now. So over the course of time, over the last number of years, 10 years, 8 years, 9 years, whatever, our police department has really improved dramatically. Not because of the CRB necessarily, but because of the efforts and the works of the police chiefs, and especially Chief Doyle.
Still not working for you.
Okay, so here's an example of some of the help that the monitor's given. They've done multiple use of force audits over the last few years that have been helpful to the CRB because they developed checklists on how to analyze use of force, showed us how to do it, what's important in analyzing use of force, because the Civilian Review Board, we do see use of force incidents and make determinations about it. Currently, the monitor is doing an accountability audit, which will give feedback to FPD about how well they're handling citizen complaints, and also will give feedback to the CRB on how well we're doing our job. And I'm very interested in seeing that because we don't really, I like to think we're doing a good job, but it'd be nice to see an outside professional, and that's what she's doing, analyzing it. And it'll give us a good idea on how effective the oversight is of our police department and how we could improve. The monitor also did organized two different training sessions on use of force. Jamil and Lamika, both of you went to the one that was earlier this year, and there was one 2 years prior at our request. We requested, hey, can we have some training? And the monitor was very gracious and helpful on doing that. Defined for us what is constitutional use of force, and brought in a retired training officer from the Boston PD that analyzed for us uses of force, took actual body-worn camera video of our FPD officers in use of force incidents, displayed it for us, talked us through, here's what you're seeing, here's what you need to look for, here's the way to judge these type of incidents. So that was very helpful to us. Complaint statistics in the 8+ years, roughly 40 complaints have been reviewed. Most of them we agree with the FPD's determination. There's been 7 that we've disagreed. 3 went to mediation, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. 2 of them were criminal allegations, and we've been tracking by officer. We don't see a particular pattern with one exception. Just to give you an idea, 2024, there was 9 complaints submitted. 2 were later withdrawn by the complainant. Here in 2025, we've had 5 complaints submitted to date, actually 6, one just came in today. And 2 of those were resolved by mediation. Mediation is and those of us who've been on the board will know when looking at complaints, a lot of the complaints we feel it would have been a whole lot better if it went to mediation, where the complainant and the officer sit down and talk and are led through by community Community Mediation Services of St. Louis does it. 2 complaints here in 2025 went to mediation and were resolved by that. And that's a great way to do it. There's no investigation. We don't get to see anything. It's all closed by mediation, and the complainant and the officer talk together and a mediator leads them through a conversation. We're hoping that more and more complaints would go to mediation. Both the FPD and the CRB are getting better at resolving complaints in a timely manner. Policy says FPD has 30 days to review, that we have 60 days to review their investigation, and overall it should take no more than 90 days. Just to give you an example, in 2019, when we first started doing it, FPD was averaging 154 days to complete an investigation. I see Jamil's looking at me. That was prior to his days. He hadn't seen anything like that, but it was 154 days. And we took on average 201 days to finish our review because we were just trying to figure out what we're doing. 2023 and 2024, you could see FPD's average days to get it are coming down. Our CRB days are coming down. So that's much better. A few quick charts on crime statistics, then I'll be done. So this is a trend of the last 35 years, showing the average, a 3-year rolling average of property crimes. And as you can see, the red line is the actual volume of crimes. It's been going down. The green line is the number of crimes that were cleared, which means basically solved. Somebody's been found, charged, and turned over to the criminal justice system. Unfortunately, that's been going down too. Violent crime, it's on an upward trend. The solve rate is been on a downward trend. And this last chart, there it is. This shows the trend of the clearance rates. And I keep hoping and asking the chief sometime during his presentations to explain clearance rates, why it's important, why it might not be important, what are the factors that affect it. But basically clearance rates indicate, hey, did somebody get caught for this crime, charged with it, and turned over to the justice system? And as you can see, the trend is down, 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 starting way back in 2010. Okay, so if people say, well, it's down because of Michael Brown days, 2014. No, it started before then. It's down because our police department didn't have enough officers. No, it was down before then. So it's been on a trend, but if you notice the red line, the good news is the red line, the solving of violent crimes has been spiking up under Chief Doyle. I hope that continues. But those are the type of trends you could see by tracking that sort of stuff. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Could you share how many vacancies and how many members are terming out?
Thank you. Thank you. I intended to do that, but I failed to. Thanks, Jamil. The board has 9 seats on the board. And right now we have 5 members only. So there's 4 vacancies. And it's the job of the city council to appoint members to the Civilian Review Board. My term ends at the end of this month. Okay. One other person term ends at the end of this month. Okay. And both of us have decided to re-up, but if we didn't, we would be down to 3, which is a non-functioning board. Okay. So in previous years, you've heard me come up a lot of times. Well, those of you who were recently on the council didn't see that, but many, many times over the years, I've come up saying we need more members, and the council has responded, but we do need more members. And for the public out there, if any of you are interested in getting involved in the city boards and commissions, this would be a great way to do it.
Do they have to be from a certain ward or anything? Or
The city ordinance, I
mean, the vacancies you have right now, where do they have to be from? I want people who are out there thinking about doing it. Oh, I live in Ward 2, so I can't, or I live in Ward 3.
Yeah, we have 2 vacancies in Ward 3, and we have at least 1, maybe 2 that are considered at large. So we're supposed to have two from each ward, two from Ward 1, 2 Ward 2, 2 Ward 3. Right now, there's no Ward 3 person. But we have two Ward 2 people. I'm a Ward 2 person, okay? But if somebody from Ward 2 wanted to join, they can go to an at-large seat. So at-large can be anybody from any ward. It can also be a business owner, a clergy person, a educator that doesn't live in Ferguson, but they come here all the time because this is where they work and where they spend their time. So it doesn't, so non-residents could be part of the board, and we've had some before. It's not restricted to just residents, but a resident in a ward that's already filled can take an at-large position.
Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Jerry? Oh, go ahead.
I'll just mention that we got a couple of folks, I think, that we're putting up for approval for the council to join. So hopefully we can get you some applicants.
You gonna do that tonight?
Oh, no, not tonight.
Not tonight, okay.
Hopefully.
I'm sorry, I'm anxious.
Hopefully next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, any other question? Okay, Mr. Jerry, no, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, special presentation has concluded. Now we'll move to the public hearing. Tonight, we have a public hearing for the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. Assistant City Manager Musgrave, would you provide information regarding the hearing?
Yeah, do we want to do comment first or just my synopsis first?
Let's do your synopsis.
So the budget, the final budget was included in the agenda packet. I just wanted to hit the highlights. With council's recommendations and staff's recommendations, you guys did make almost $900,000 in cuts overall. We are in the black and putting some back into the fund balance moving forward for the 26 budget. So that's the highlight.
Okay. Does anyone on the council have any questions for Assistant City Manager Musgrave?
So, to be clear, the money that was cut from the consent decree, was that issued to any of the other groups? Did we assign any of that money to anywhere else?
I mean, it depends how you word that. So we were in the red when we started. So yes, money is being allocated to other resources in the big picture of things, but that specific money wasn't redesignated anywhere else. Like I mentioned, we are in the black. So it's up to council what we do with the budget throughout the year at that point. I think that answered your question.
That does. Thank you.
Have any other questions?
No.
Councilman?
Assistant City Manager Musgrave, if I read this correctly, is the forecast that on June 30th this month, our general fund balance will be $22,000 in the red?
If we spend everything that was forecasted, that is correct. But of course, that won't be true until it's audited after August.
Right, so this past year, taking all the forecast for the next 2 weeks, taking all that into account for roughly 365 days, the city spent $22,000 more than it had. That's correct? And going forward next year, it looks like we are proposing or planning for, if everything goes correctly, that we'll have a $331,000 surplus. Is that, or not really surplus, but fund balance?
In the fund balance, correct.
Can you think of a time in history when Ferguson had no general fund, money in the account?
I've only been here for 12 years and no,
So it's never happened?
not in my time.
Thank you.
Councilman?
So the $331,000 surplus, that's just based on what we budgeted, right?
That is correct.
So, for example, we just had a special appropriation at our last meeting. They wrecked a lot of police cars this year and they hired some new officers. So we had to buy 5 new police cars for $265,000. And so if something unexpected comes up this year, it's got to come out of that $331,000, right?
The money you allocated is included in that number, but you're correct. Anything on top of that would.
I mean, right, that was the $265,000 for the police cars was for this fiscal year.
Correct.
But if anything comes, and unexpected things happen every year, that's normal. So if we have something unexpected come up, we have to have
some degree of flexibility, or else we just have to dip into our reserves and go in the red. Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have a question? I have a couple of questions, just for
Ma'am?
clarity, because residents have asked, but the first is, how much is in the reserve account? What's the balance for the reserve account?
It's forecasted to be a little over $2 million at the end of the 26 budget.
Okay. So can you just explain to those who don't know, the intergovernmental and other income revenue streams?
So other income is hard to define, because it can be grant money, it can be a whole lot of things. Intergovernmental is basically transfers from one fund to another. So it's from EDST, Parks Fund, that kind of stuff, but distributing between the different fund umbrellas.
Okay, and the marijuana tax is a point of sale tax, not a pool tax fund.
I'm sorry.
The marijuana tax is a point of sale tax,
That is
not the
correct.
pool tax fund.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And so that marijuana tax, it goes into the general fund
Yes, ma'am.
when we receive that revenue. The allocation for North County Inc. and North County Chamber of Commerce have been removed from the 25-26 budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, those are all of my questions now. Go ahead, sir.
I had a question, if possible, for the finance director, if that's okay, Mr. Musgrave. Mr. Tankins, from your experience, with the proposed fund balance in the general fund at the end of fiscal year 25-26 of $2 million, that roughly represents about 8% of our spending for the year. Is that correct?
I'm gonna have to trust your number on that as far as 8%.
It's between 8
I
and
would
10.
say yes.
Between 8 and 10%.
The number 2 million.
Is that historically a healthy number for a municipality to have 8% reserves in their general fund?
I don't know how to answer that. I'm not sure what historically around, the number is for municipalities. I can say that we always want to be looking to increase our reserve and to not spend money that we don't need to spend.
When a city has an audit, don't they look at fund reserves and the ability for the city to cover their expenditures for the future year? And they usually look at percentages, right? Like the city has a 20% or a 30% surplus in their general fund to cover costs. That's kind of how actuaries look at it, correct?
Yes, that is correct. What your question was asking me was that, our balances across the region perhaps normal. And I don't know, compared to other cities, what Ferguson's fund balance is.
What is the estimated monthly payroll for the city of Ferguson?
It is about $700,000, including the tax.
So with a $2 million forecasted general fund balance at the end of the year, we would be able to pay our employees for roughly 3 months based on that. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question on the council? Okay, so now we're going to move to the public comments. And it was explained to me earlier that the public comments, the public receives 3 minutes for these comments as well. So I'm going to ask everyone who comes to the podium to please be respectful of the time, please. Octavia.
First, I have Susan Clark.
Good evening. I'm not a resident of Ferguson. I live in Chesterfield now. I have, however, spent a lot of time in Ferguson. Starting a few days after Mike Brown was murdered. And I've spent years attending city council meetings. And it was a joy when I felt like I really didn't need to do that any longer. I want you all to understand that what happens in Ferguson is not just about Ferguson. It never was just about Ferguson. I understood that as a neighbor. I understood that as a St. Louis community member. And there were hundreds of other St. Louis community members who were here regularly at these meetings, in your streets, in your boardrooms,
on your councils, who are not residents. We care deeply about this city. We care deeply about this consent decree. Nobody wants to drive Ferguson into bankruptcy. Nevertheless, I don't recommend flaunt or going up against the federal courts. Y'all think this is expensive? The lawsuits coming at you when you decide to breach a federal consent decree are going to be far more expensive. The joy of my presence will become annoying. The joy of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of other people coming back to Ferguson will be frustrating and annoying and will raise your costs as well. We value what you all have accomplished. I got great joy seeing the Mr. Knoll's report. It's a different community than it was 10 years ago, for which I'm eternally grateful. The changes that you've sparked here are happening in other communities as well, because of the work you're doing, because of the example you have set. They're happening in Baldwin, they're happening in Webster Groves, they're happening in Afton of all places. You guys are so important. And what you do here sets the standard for what happens throughout this district, throughout this community. And we need you to carry on. We need you to carry through. I don't know if there are ways we can help. I kind of felt like you'd probably rather be left alone by everybody who used to pour into your streets. But if there are ways we can help, we will. We want to.
Thank you.
Becky Miller.
I'm Becky Miller, 435 Darst, a volunteer member of the consent decree mandated NPSC and Police Training Committee. I'm well familiar with the progress that the FPD is making on the consent decree. And those of us being labeled agitators are those who understand the importance of the consent decree, and we've been the most involved and worked the hardest to see it succeed. Meeting the terms of the consent decree includes, but goes far beyond, just making sure police officers aren't abusing Black Ferguson residents. The consent decree requires making the change to true community policing. The process includes extensive officer training, a community engagement plan, a crime prevention plan. Meeting those requirements is important for improving community safety for all of us, no matter our race, our income level, or the ward we live in. The FPD has made a lot of progress, but we aren't done. A safer community has long-term cost benefits. Those benefits include protecting our city from lawsuits, saving against property damage, and raising property values. But most important, the community safety will save the lives of citizens and the lives of our police officers. Yes, meeting the consent decree requirements has been an expensive process. Much of this expense, however, is the fault of the city council that until recently dragged its feet meeting those requirements. We would have spent far less money if the council had committed to getting the job done from the beginning. Much of the expense of having a DOJ monitor was incurred because city council slow-walked compliance. For example, one of the keys to achieving compliance, the police training program, is only now in the process of being completed and approved by the DOJ. Much of the credit for this progress goes to Pat Washington and Lisa Stevens. Approval for adding their positions to the police department, however, was long denied by council. Those who advocate cutting funds evidently fail to understand the full effect and importance of the community policing program, a program that we're getting only because it has been mandated by the requirements of the consent decree. And I'm really concerned that the council will not support getting the full community policing program implemented unless there's continued court supervision. Your short-sightedness now, in the past, doesn't mean we should shortchange the consent decree compliance now. If we do not see it fully implemented, we all lose.
Thank you. Jerry Jasper.
Back. Well, I'm Jerry Jasper, and I've lived in Ferguson since 1987. So I've been a longtime resident, young as I look. But I'm telling you, because I'm white, I didn't have all the problems that people of color or Black people had. But I saw the hate from the police, and I see some changes in that because somebody got shot right 3 houses down from me last summer. They were shooting 3 houses down, and it was so loud, my windows were shaking. So I texted Chief Doyle, and he texted me back and explained he told me what happened. But I called the police department, and bless her heart, I don't know who answered the phone, but she said, "Oh, it was probably fireworks." And I said, "Honey, I've been to Haiti, I've been to Kosovo, and I've been in Ferguson since 1987. I know the difference between gunfire and fireworks." So she couldn't give me an answer, but Chief Doyle did give me an answer, and I think that's important because even in the consent decree, you talk about respecting people with the when they come to the police station. So I have to say, I really appreciate him. And I also have to say, right is right and wrong is wrong, no matter who you are. No matter who you are, no matter if you have a little religious collar, or you're the mayor, or you're the finance guys and the city manager, no matter who you are, or you lie, no matter who you are, you gotta stop doing that because right is right and wrong is wrong. And I think we have to pay this money. We have to keep working on this because if you don't keep working on it, it's like if you have a cut and it has dirt in it and you put a Band-Aid over it, it's gonna fester, it's gonna get bad, it's gonna ease out crap and stuff. And that's what'll happen if you stop it. If you don't pay up what we need to pay. And I love Ferguson. I don't like everything that happens, but I love my family. I don't like everything that happens with them either. But we got to do right. And that means treat each other right. And that means stop gossiping about each other. Stop making up stories. Stop all that other crap. Because if we don't work together, it's not going to work. And I said this years ago, and I'll say it again. If you don't like Black people or you don't like white people, live somewhere else because Black people and white people are here. So do the right thing.
Thank you. LeVar Mitchell.
The last budget session, and this may not be a big deal to some people, but I think you all talked about the chief and I think Miss Washington and Lisa, all of them couldn't go to a conference because you all were cutting how many of them could go. And I think the conference is in the fall, but I even remember Chief saying, "Well, I don't have to go." I think they should be able to go to any conference that's going to give them information so they can stay updated on policing and reform or whatever's going on. And like I said, it may not be a big deal to some, but I remember Chief saying, "Well, I don't have to go." I think all of them should go to this conference they're talking about because I'm sure they're going to be discussing everything going on and updating. So that was one concern I had. The other concern, FNIP is getting what $300,000 from the EDST. Okay, I still want to know exactly where the ARPA money went. How many people were served? Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3. And I remember him saying that they couldn't give the names. Well, they don't have to give names. They can give race, male or female, what work was done. What was the other one? I think we really need to know how many people were served. Age, race, whatever, because if we don't know that, the ARPA money was American Rescue Plan Act. It was to rescue and help people. The way they did it, you got to match up before you can get any help. I never did like that, because I'm sure there are a lot of people couldn't match up and they didn't get any help. And I know there's something about income level, but I really was very troubled how that was handled. Because I believe if we really look at it, there are a lot of people, Ward 1, 2, and 3, but probably especially Ward 3, that didn't get help. So I'm concerned about that. And I know that you say you're gonna do oversight with the $300,000. I hope that really happens, because I don't think it was much oversight with the $650,000 that was given to FNIP ARPA from the ARPA funds. So I just hope there's more transparency and we know who has been really helped with that money, because I don't think we really know. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Cassandra Butler.
Really could just almost say ditto, 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 ditto to everyone. So I do want to just reinforce one of the things that I said earlier, and I think that's a good example that Laverne used about the training expenses for consent decree coordinator and how that ties into the micromanaging. By cutting the expenses in half and also cutting the timeline to trying to meet a December 31st deadline, those are cross purposes. They are cross. So you have a consent decree coordinator who's doing consent decree coordination as a second job, which is already demanding. Then you're insulting the consent decree coordinator by moving up by cutting her surplus or her addendum to her salary and that really shows respect and appreciation, you think? And then expecting her to do it by a certain deadline. It's like, are you really motivating? You find that you're disrespecting that person and not showing appreciation. So, and usually if you do, like I mentioned earlier, if you're doing shortening a time frame, that's more time, more work. Let's take IT. When I said you don't know how those expenses go out over 12 months, you're assuming they're equal expense every month. But maybe you're paying for software expense in the first 4 months, and maybe the bulk of that money is 75% is in the software or the equipment. You don't know how that money spreads out over the 12 months. And usually when you have shortened the deadline, the work, 12 months worth of work is still being done. So that might not shorten the expenses that way. So I want to go back to the training. So what happens in a consent decree conference of people all over the nation who come together, they share information. That information sharing helps shorten or increase experience. So you don't have to have our own experience. It shortens the learning curve. So that is a very good expense. Going together with people who are already doing the work, learning from their mistakes and learning from their successes. That is very smart expense.
Thank you, Ms. Butler.
Thank you.
Donald Stevens.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First of all, I'd just like to say that over the past few years, the council have not got it right in picking consent decree coordinators. I think right now we do have the best team, and there's no reason to cut the budget because we do have the right team. Had we had this right team 5 years ago, we would have probably been done now. So I think it's the point that we got the right team. We got to go forward. What we cannot do, we cannot defund justice. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Mildred Klein.
So, it's interesting, but more so disheartening that the monitors team has helped the CRB with its work that was mandated by the consent decree. And a member of the CRB voted to cut the monitors team's fee. That's very interesting and disheartening to me. And talking about the budget and the police, someone mentioned about the police cars and we got more police. What happened to the Prop P money that we voted for to go to the police? What happened to that fund? What I will say is almost every court hearing talking about the consent decree I've attended, and the people who are on our city council, most of them don't even attend. They don't even attend. That shows you where their heart is, as far as I'm concerned. But we've been going at this for years, and most of the city council don't even attend. And like someone said before, if they hadn't been slow dragging, slow walking, resisting, we would have been done. We would have been in compliance because we have worked so hard. I earned the right to stand up here and speak because I've been part of the COB, the FNIP, Neighborhood Policing Committee, Ferguson Collaborative. I've been here and I have been in the trenches doing the work. Okay? And so for you all the new people on here, to say, oh, you know what, we've been doing, it's time for this to be over. It's gonna be over when it's over, when everything has been done right, and we've been in compliance. See, you all weren't here when we were being tear gas and knocked down and getting all these tickets, using our bodies as Black ATMs, going to court, the city attorney being the court attorney, and just monopolizing on top of each other. You all were not here for that. So yeah, we are working, and I tell the judge, whenever I get an opportunity to speak in court, I tell Judge Perry, as a resident, because I've been here 37 years. I've seen it. I've seen the injustices, and I've seen the progress that we've made so far. And I told her this last court hearing, I said, we have made some great progress. Pat Washington, Lisa Stevens, those people have worked their butts off. And then in court, the DOJ, everybody's just praising them because they have done an outstanding job. And then they hear that you all want to cut their fees or their salaries. This is crazy. You know, we got to do better. We need to own up. We need to own up to what we're doing. We need to go in and finish this, seeing this through, and our city, make our city a better city. But all this short-handed stuff and cutting people's salaries, you know, even an attorney, don't even stop listening to our attorney. We can do better. We got to do better.
Thank you, Ms. Klein.
Erica Brooks.
I pretty much want to say the same thing as far as, I know you all don't make that much while you sit up here, you use your voices for your own personal interests. Apparently for the people that, you know, pay for you to be able to get voted in and do whatever you do, because if it was about making Ferguson a new Ferguson, we wouldn't have to stand here asking for justice. We wouldn't have to say, I'm not gonna sit at the back of the bus. We won't have to say, I deserve the right to sit at a counter like everybody else. We would have to say none of that. Speaking the same language that our ancestors spoke all these years ago.
Yes.
Why are we standing here talking about the same thing? It don't make sense to me at all. I mean, like I said, I got a degree in history. And to live with Black people up here not getting it. I mean, I know my mother was a little girl when they did the Walgreens thing, when they were trying to sit at the counter, trying to get in or whatever. And to have Black faces in my face up here on the stand, you talking about post-traumatic syndrome. I mean, it's like present traumatic syndrome. I'm like, what is going on? Like everybody's saying, we live the status of this administration, not this administration, but the Ferguson administration, slow, as people say, pussyfooting. I mean, through every point of legislation, getting the people that should have been a coordinator, a monitor, whatever it took in order to have the structure to make sure that the police were being trained. Because people are always saying, well, when they do people, this man was murdered here in Ferguson. Young man was murdered by a police officer. And people say, you know what, they need more training. No, you're a human being. You know how you want to be treated. Do you want your people shot and killed? You shouldn't take training for that. You got a Bible that you should have read, or somebody read to you, or you know, it's called common courtesy. You know, having other methods of being able to solve problems. But like I said, when it comes to the FNIP money, I don't understand. Steve Wilkes stood here and he recommended 100,000. Nick said 300,000. But when it comes to accountability, somewhere in this place, to where it's not just a staff or whoever gonna do whatever, why not have an itemized budget to be able to see everything, where it's going, how it's happening, even if you don't do nothing about race, because race obviously don't matter in this place. You're gonna do what you want to do with the money the way you want to do it. But like I say, when it comes to the chief going where he has to go, how can you talk about somebody not serving and not doing what he needs to do if you're not allowing him to be able to go places to be educated as the leader of your police department? Not only that, Pat Washington, the people that need to be sitting there, you know, you're talking about giving money, the $200,000 for a repair of whistle stop. You're talking about a surplus. That money needs to be put in places where it's going to benefit people.
Yes.
Okay, you went there and you paint the walls to make windows and all that stuff. That's nice. You know, it's nice easement, you know, to the eye, whatever. But when it comes to making sure that people have the right, the police chief has the system that he needs in order to make sure that we're safe here in the community. That's what y'all should be thinking about, not just beautifying Ferguson, but making sure that the people here, Nick,
Miss
Lamika,
Thank
you
you,
know,
Miss Brooks.
the other people that's sitting up here, you know, taking it as a pure joke because you had a power to sit there. But, you know, like I said, everybody have their day, sir. And Coleman is definitely alive and well. Because, you know something, when you take, it's like anybody else, when you take your uniform off and you get on this side of the water and you get pulled over, like you talking about you being, you the same color we are.
Yeah.
So while you executing these laws in order to keep us behind on the back of the bus, you think about what you're doing. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Are there any more comments?
The last speaker is Trayvon Walker.
Evening again. A member of the council earlier directed a question to the Director of Finance requesting historical data on the city's fund balance. Please feel free to correct the record if I've misstated that. In that same spirit, I believe it's equally important to consider historical data from municipalities operating under federal consent decrees. The record is clear. Jurisdictions that fail to see their consent decrees through to completion often face significantly increased long-term costs financially, operationally, and legally. For this reason, I urge the council to closely evaluate the implications of reducing the consent decree budget by approximately $200,000. potentially by way of a resolution. This is not a symbolic adjustment. It represents effectively a 50% cut from the previous operating budget. Such a drastic rollback cannot be taken lightly. Consider the experience of New Orleans, which entered into a consent decree with the DOJ in 2012. Due to years of evidence delay, mismanagement, underfunding, the city remains under federal oversight more than a decade later. The same pattern is characterized to have occurred in Cleveland, where the consent decree initiated in 2015 persists today, in part because the city struggled to invest early in compliance infrastructure. In Oakland, a consent decree originally expected to last 5 years stretched into over 20 years of federal oversight, in large part because the city failed to dedicate consistent funding and political will towards compliance. These examples offer a clear warning. Cutting corners on consent decree implementation in the short term often leads to extended periods of federal oversight, higher cumulative costs, and sustained public distrust. It is my hope that each member of the council, as well as the mayor, has conducted a thorough review of these precedents and fully appreciates the potential consequences of their acts. Thank you.
Anyone else, Octavia?
No.
Okay, I would just like to say that Chief Doyle and his staff are making strides with the consent decree. That's my comment. We are going to close the public hearing, and now we will move to the consent agenda. So, the city council meeting minutes, the regular meeting minutes for May 27, 2025. Are there any corrections? I request a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second, Lamika Covington.
Okay, everyone in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, I approve. We will proceed with the minutes as approved in second. Tonight, we don't have any board or commission meeting minutes, no appointments, no requests, no proclamation, no resolution. We do have a few bills. We have bill number 7310. Without objection, to introduce by council as a whole. Attorney Ryan, would you please read the bill by title only?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 2024-3757 and adopting an ordinance fixing the salaries and other compensation of all officers and employees of the city as provided in section 2-47. Compensation of chapter 2, administration of the code of the city of Ferguson for the fiscal year 2025 through 2026.
Thank you. Assistant City Manager, would you explain?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is the pay ordinance that we do annually for the full-time staff members for the city.
There's no action taken at this time. This is the first reading. The next bill is 7311. Without any objections to introduce by council as a whole. Attorney Ryan, would you read the bill by title only?
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 2024-3758 and adopting an ordinance fixing the salaries of part-time employees of the Parks and Recreation Department of the city of Ferguson for the fiscal year 2025 through 2026.
Assistant City Manager Musgrave.
This is a very similar bill. This one just pertains to part-time staff levels, and we do it every year.
Okay, no action taken at this time. Next, we have bill number 7312. Without objections, this is introduced by Councilman Cassoff. Attorney Ryan, would you read the bill by title only?
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance repealing chapter 7, section 6-4 pertaining to the requirement of dog licenses.
Assistant City Manager Musgrave.
I did not draft this. I'll default to Councilman Cassoff if he wants to explain it at all, but that's up to you guys.
Yeah, just very briefly, we've had dog licenses on the books for years in Ferguson. They are not adhered to. We do no enforcement and they don't serve any purpose. Last year, the city sold a grand total of 3 dog licenses. And so far as I know, we haven't written a single ticket for one and we're not going to. So we had $300 in the budget to buy dog licenses that we're never going to use.
And I felt it best to just remove the ordinance. As some of you probably know, we did enact a more rigorous, dangerous animal ordinance earlier this year. So if there's loose dogs that are menacing you, we now have a procedure that we can go through and deal with that. But the dog licenses themselves don't serve a purpose, and this ordinance would eliminate them.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilman?
Mr. Musgrave, what's the current fee for a dog license?
Like $2.
It's
like
$3.
$3. Very,
And $6.
$3 and $6.
Depending on if it's fixed or not. Yeah, it's if your dog's fixed, it's $3. If your dog's not fixed, it's $6. So we got somewhere between $9 and $18 in dog license fees last year.
It's still on Councilman Palmer.
I do intend to support the repeal of this bill, but I do want to disclose I am a dog owner.
Did you apply for a license?
I currently have 2 dogs in violation of this ordinance.
Does anyone else have any questions? Do you have anything else to add?
I've got a dog in violation too, but.
Okay, no action taken at this time. So now we'll move to unfinished business. And I have unfinished business. At the last, well, before I go with my unfinished business, does anyone else have any unfinished, Councilwoman?
So I have a question. We have a couple of people that filled out applications for boards,
Mhm.
and I want to just know when we get to those. Because we do have a lot of people that cannot, a lot of groups that cannot have meetings because of this.
Yes,
so-
ma'am. I'm with you on that. They're supposed to be on the agenda on the 24th meeting so that we can approve those appointments, because I'm waiting on appointments as well for FSBD. So the next council meeting, I believe.
Do you mind if I add on to
Please
that?
add.
So that way
okay.
everyone understands why their applications
Please
are
do.
pending. I was asked to place the applications on hold while the council reviewed the previous legislation that was pending. And so once that legislation, once they took the action on that one, now they were asked to come back, but they were asked not to come back at this meeting with the mayor not being present.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I had a couple of questions for staff. Would you prefer I do that now or wait till miscellaneous or?
Is it unfinished business? If it's not, then it would be better if you wait to miscellaneous.
Good, I'll wait.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any unfinished business before I proceed? Okay, well, I have unfinished business. And it's, I hate to bring this up, but I have to, just for clarity. In the last council meeting, Councilman Palmer, you kind of implied that I didn't want to approve Councilwoman Covington, her FNIP application to serve on the board. And we appointed her in January of 23, because I went back and watched the council meeting, and you made the request to amend the agenda, and we all approved that, and I second the motion. So I just really I don't understand why you said that at the last meeting, but even if I would have had questions about anyone's board or commission application, I have every right to ask questions. I just wanted that clarified, because at the time it kind of implies like I didn't want to approve her board and commission application. And I went back and watched the council meeting, and you can too. It's from January. It was the first council meeting. It was January 10th, 2023. And I also had Octavia pull her board submission application, and her application stated housing board, not FNIP. So, that could have been a question. And then I also had the minutes pulled. So I just wanted to clarify, that since you stated that in the last meeting, that none of that happened. And if it did, where's the evidence?
So you did find the email where you said she applied for housing board, not FNIP?
No, I didn't find an email. What I found was her application. Her application has housing board on it.
So the email is there because it was sent shortly. It was during the meeting, shortly after the vote, in which you did vote yes to appoint her. That's it. But the, excuse me, sir.
Yep.
But the recommendation of Monica Covington came from FNIP. So it was pretty clear that she was applying for the FNIP board, not the Housing Board of Appeals. Would you agree that if a board recommended a person, that they probably were applying for that board?
I will say that her approval to be on FNIP was unanimous. I second the motion. If I have a question about anyone's board or commission application, I have a right to ask a question, and that's it.
Did I deny your right to ask questions?
I'm done with it.
Did I deny your right to ask questions?
You don't have the authority to.
But
do
did
that.
I?
Okay, I just wanted to.
I didn't.
clarify, and I won't, just like Republic, I don't want to waste anyone's time, and I want to be respectful. I just wanted to clarify that. Does anyone else have any more unfinished business? Okay, let's move on to new business. Does anyone have any new business? I have new business. The Forestwood Neighborhood Association would like to have a cleanup of the Forestwood neighborhood. And that's wards 1 and 2 on June 21st. Well, I'm sorry, wards 1 and 3, and I'm in Ward 3, excuse me. Wards 1 and 3, and that will be the morning of June 21st, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. into noon. So we're asking people to come out. You live in Forestwood, let's help preserve our neighborhoods. Everyone knows that I'm a champion for that. I did send an email, not to you, Assistant City Manager, but to City Manager Hampton, and I haven't heard back yet. But we were asking if the city could help us out with like a dump truck. I know the last time we had to clean up, there was a staff person there and he helped out and he helped us transport the bags of trash. And we're also asking for gloves and the trash pickers and contract bags, but whatever resources we can get from the city. And I have the flyer here if you want to see it.
Just send me an email. I can follow up with staff tomorrow.
Okay, well, I'll reshare that email. So the second piece of new business is we really are trying to revitalize the Ward 3 neighborhoods associations, and South Central Ward 3 Neighborhood Association. That's Compton, Oliver, St. Louis Avenue, Paul, Patricia, Lee, East, Wyland Court, Haley, William, Wilman Court, excuse me, Elkin, Birdsley, Annabelle, Wabash, Fermo, Maurice, Woodstock, St. Louis Place, and the homes on South Florissant, Redmond, Short, and Adams. And we really need this flyer updated to include Councilwoman Covington's name on it. And we're hopefully we can get out this summer and, do some outreach with that. But I'm asking for I'm asking for the city to update the flyer and add her name and remove Councilman Palmer's. And then if Octavia, if you would verify that the link and the passcode for the Zoom is still active. Yes, ma'am.
Cleanup. Is there a meeting place?
You know what? On the flyer, it says, we invite the residents for a morning dedicated to cleaning up our community. This starts with our neighborhood. The Forestwood Community Development Committee invite residents for a morning dedicated to cleaning up our community. The meeting place is going to be Dashwood and Forestwood Drive. And we will provide beverages and snacks, and you'll get a copy of this. I'm going to email it out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
In regards to the flyer, I don't know who originally created it, but I can look into it tomorrow if you send me a copy.
I'm sorry.
I said, I don't know who originally created the flyer. If you'll send me a copy, I can do some digging and find it and edit it.
Yes, please. Thank you, Dave. I will send you a copy.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
So since taking office, I've been working with residents to relaunch Old Town East Neighborhood Association. And I'm happy to announce Saturday, July 19th from 6 to 9 p.m. we will be having a block party, Old Town neighborhood. It will be over on North Clay between Church and Darst. All are welcome to attend. We will have flyers out in the community. We will reach out to fire and police to see if they want to take part in that party, but everyone's invited. So definitely this will be our kind of recruitment event to get neighbors, meeting neighbors, and then getting folks coming to those routine monthly meetings in the community. Thanks.
So isn't there a street in Ward 3 don't we share that neighborhood?
Yes, you are.
association?
Yeah. So, we actually have quite a few folks from, Ward 3 that are participating right now. So, we're just, once we get it up, I'll extend the invite and you can come on out and fellowship with the community.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes,
Does
ma'am.
anyone else have any, new business? Did you get your questions answered?
I did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we'll move to miscellaneous, and let's start with Ward 1 Councilman, David Williams, please.
First and foremost, I'm an independent thinker and nobody recruited me. I ran because I wanted to make this city a better place. So I'm not on anybody's team. I vote for what's right for Ferguson. When the Club Zero came up here and they wanted a liquor license, I'm the only one that said yes, because I saw a minority business owner trying to make $1. To this day, they still don't have a liquor license, but they're managing to survive. Secondly, I wanted to give the consent decree $0. I think cutting it in half is fair, but what you guys don't realize, we did not cut the budget for police training. They're doing a great job and we want that to continue. But cutting the funding had to be done. The median income of Ferguson is $44,000. I wasn't here at the time when the consent decree was rendered. It was needed. It was some transgressions from police officers. And trust me, I'm a Black man in America. I've been arrested. Oh, we got the wrong guy. Gun pointed to my head. So I'm the one that was police. So I understand that more than anybody in this room. But it's a new day. We have a Black police chief. It's 75% Black staff. It has changed. So now they're taxing the poorest people of this community. We can't even get our roads fixed because we're giving money to the DOJ. So I understand that it's a lot of people getting rich. They're staying in the Ritz-Carlton off of taxpayer money. So if it's 70% Black now, Black people are paying that fine for the transgressions of white police officers and crooked police officers. That's not right. And so I just don't say this on my own. I asked my neighbors in Ward 1 who've been here a lot longer than me, and they said, yes, cutting in half is fair. I've been here 20 years and this street has not been paved. The reason why the street hasn't been paved, we're spending money on this consent decree. We spent $6 million in the consent decree. Imagine if we had that money back. We could do a lot of good for this community. So we're not stopping the training of the police officers and training to make the city better and move forward, which it has. We're cutting the salaries of the monitor and all the greedy people that are blood sucking this city dry. Secondly, Martin Luther King gave his life for civil disobedience. He defied the federal government. When they said you had to sit in the back of the bus, you couldn't drink out of this certain water fountain, you couldn't vote. He defied the federal government and it cost him his life. So just because a law that is bending by the federal government doesn't mean it's just and right. So you have to have civil disobedience and stand up for what's right. This is what's right. When we entered the consent decree, it was supposed to be for 3 years. Stuff has changed. They're sucking us dry. So standing up for what's right needs to be done. And I really wanted to give it 0, but I think cutting in half is fair, not to burn the house down with the baby. It's fair. And we're just gonna see what happens. If you got January 6th rioters being pardoned, it's time to strike. They need to just end this now. They already paused all consent decrees. So now is the time. We have to strike now. Secondly, FNIP, they have a low income requirement that you don't have to put any money down. They do. You need to do your research. They have a low income requirement that you qualify for. I've gotten the FNIP grant 3 times. It does not ask for your income. your race, and what ward you live in. And just ask your project and your address. And the disparities that people are trying to say, yeah, a lot of Black people might not get it, especially in Ward 3, because that has the largest Black population and they're renters. One of the requirements of FNIP is that you must be a homeowner. So Ward 3, a lot of those people are not going to qualify because that's the highest rental population, and the largest Black population in Ferguson.
Not true. Not true.
Okay, Mr. Williams.
That's it. So, I just wish you people would do some research instead of acting on emotion. So we did not cut the training for the police officers. That's going to continue going forward forever because we think that's necessary. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Mr. Williams, for your miscellaneous. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, I just want to take a moment to address some of the public comments that were made this evening, because sometimes people are, wanting some answers relatively quickly. Yes, ma'am, no problem. Assistant City Manager, there was a statement made that the council had hired some poor consent decree coordinators in the past. Can you explain who actually hires the consent decree coordinator?
So the consent decree coordinator is actually hired by the court process. So it's actually third party. It has nothing to do with the city council.
Thank you. And does Bill 70?
Backtrack. You said consent decree coordinator or monitor?
The coordinator.
The coordinator is hired by the city staff. So the city manager hires a consent decree. It's done like any other staff member.
So council does not hire the consent decree coordinator?
No, the only thing the council does is appropriate the budget for the funding.
And then in Bill 7310, is this the bill that gives the 3% raise to our overworked employees?
Correct.
Okay. And then my next question is more so for the city attorney, if that's okay to ask you a question, sir. Would it be advisable from your professional experience to ask someone's race or gender or age on an application for a grant? If that grant is not contingent on that information?
I'll give you the classic lawyer answer. It depends. Sometimes demographic information can be relevant for reporting statuses.
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you can use it as a determining factor.
Could you see that in your professional opinion as becoming an issue in the future for a board that has been allocated funds in regards to the disbursement of those funds?
As before, it depends on how it's implemented.
But that could be some dangerous that could be some questionable information in the wrong hands. Is that correct?
Would not want to speculate as to that.
Okay. My next question was relative to the consent decree. There was an expectation that the city would be in compliance after 3 years. Is that correct?
I can't speak to that, Councilman.
If the city is currently not in compliance with the consent decree, they are exposed to potential litigation right now from the federal government. Is that not correct?
As an ongoing judicial order, it is possible for the DOJ to bring up something before the court and ask for remedy.
So if we haven't met the timelines prescribed by the consent decree, we currently are actually in violation.
That
was a question. I didn't ask the public.
I wouldn't say violation might not be the correct word. I understand the question though.
I'll give you an example. The Clean Water Act was passed in the 70s. Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District did not comply with that Clean Water Act for about 45 years, and then they were sued. So, they were working towards compliance, but never reached it. And they were ultimately sued, ultimately costing taxpayers lots of money and increased bills to pay for the borrowing that was required to reduce the combined sewers throughout the community of St. Louis. That would be a good example of the government passing along, just allowing things to go as planned until that day. I suspect there's always the possibility that the federal government could put extreme pressure on Ferguson to work even harder for compliance. Would you agree with that statement?
As an active participant in litigation, I can't speculate as to what their strategy would be, but certainly they are able to bring matters up to the court as part of this case.
Okay. So in 20 years, if we're still not in compliance, we could have been sued by then.
If we're not in 20 years, if we're still not in compliance, I wouldn't say we could still be sued. I would say because we're part of the consent decree, they would bring the motion in the current action.
Thank you. That's all I have, Ms. Noah.
Now we'll move to Ward 2.
Cool.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. Let me first start off by thanking everybody for coming out tonight and making your comments. Prior to this meeting, some on this council urged residents in the community to attend the meeting tonight and show their support of what the board did by cutting the funds by 50%. What we've seen tonight is Black, white, young, old, come out against defunding the consent decree. Not only just residents of Ferguson, but residents of St. Louis County. And so I hope as a council, as individuals, as free-minded individuals, you don't ignore the statements, the comments, the precedents that were said tonight. We have a duty not to represent ourselves, not to represent a team, but we represent these people that are out here in the audience. And so until you look at it from that lens, I think you're missing the ball on what we should be doing as council members for Ferguson. I have my own opinion on things, but I have to listen to my constituents, even if I don't agree. I have to listen to city staff. I have to listen to the city attorney. Our city attorney did not advise us to cut funds. You know, we cut the funds and they're sitting, I assume in the general fund, they're just sitting there waiting to potentially be reallocated, or maybe we pick funds back up in January. If that's true, we could have just left them as is. Instead, we're taking a risk of upsetting the judge. And as some have already said tonight, there could be more legal action, more costs associated with this decision. So what I'm asking is, hey, I understand this is a democracy. It was 4-3. But if this thing goes bad, which I think it will, I want you all, the 4 that voted to do this, stand out front and own it.
Yes.
Don't shy away. Own it and let the public and let the media know why you decided, and more importantly, let your constituents know why you put us in this position.
My constituents wanted me.
It's not your turn.
And so I just want you to consider that moving forward, because that's who we work for, the constituents, not Jamil Franklin, not Mike Palmer, none of us. And that's how I'll continue to govern as long as I'm sitting up here on this diocese. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors?
My colleague from Ward 2 has a keen ear for the constituents who agree with him, and that's a comfortable thing. I've been here since long before 2014. Those of you who were protesters in 2014 know that I was there. I was in the street, I was arrested, and some of the people who were friends with me before 2014 didn't speak to me for years because I was out there. If you don't believe me, go back and look at my Facebook from 2014. It's there. But today, if you're a family of 4 in Ferguson, you're paying nearly $400 a year for the consent decree. Maybe some of you think that's terrific. I think most people don't. Ferguson is completely different than it was 14 years ago in a lot of ways. And the first way is there's not barely a single person, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 people left in the police department from way back when. We've been through 5 police chiefs, if I remember correctly. Some of them were terrible. Some of them were terrible. I believe Chief Doyle is good. Chief Doyle never stops talking about constitutional policing, and I believe that we have one of the most constitutionally conscious police departments in the country, and certainly the only one in the state of Missouri that even thinks about it. If you go out to St. Peter's or Wildwood or or Arnold, they're not talking about constitutional policing. It's not even on the radar screen, but it's part of the daily culture here in Ferguson because of what's happened for the last 9 years. And that's a wonderful thing. And I support that. But at some point, we have to call it a win and we have to stop. Look, I understand we have friends that came from Chesterfield and Baldwin and Ellisville and Wildwood to help in these protests back in 2014. They went home and their family is not paying $400 a year for the consent decree. If the DOJ, if the federal government was paying for the whole thing, I guess I wouldn't really care. But they're not. It's being put on the backs of people who are eating ramen for dinner and worried about paying their electric bill, and we're taking $400 a year of their money to pay for the consent decree. Now, the thing that we did in the budget, we did two things. Number one, we left all the training for the police department in place because we are committed to constitutional policing. We have new officers coming in all the time. We have a need to do that training on an ongoing basis. And I believe in constitutional policing, so I supported leaving that money in place. What we did do is we fully funded the consent decree for half a year, and we asked our city attorney to get it done. We've been at this for 9 years and spent over $6 million that came from you all. Excuse me,
Point of order, Erica, let him
I
talk.
didn't talk when you talked.
Let him finish so we can.
We fully funded the consent decree for half a year, and we asked our city attorney to be diligent in completing the work and getting it wrapped up. If that should not happen, we will revisit it. But we've been fiddle-faddling around for 9 years. We've had, if you look on the city website right now, there's a chart of all the points of the consent decree. It hasn't been updated in years. It is the city's fault, I agree. We need all hands on deck for the next 6 months and get serious about getting this finished. Now, it grieves me to say that the consent decree ultimately will probably not end because we did a great job and checked every box and dotted every I and crossed every T. It'll probably end because the federal government has lost interest, as they've said to other places. I wish I could say that for the last 9 years, we did everything right and we got it all done and it's 100% somebody else's fault that it's not done. That's not the case. I understand that. But we're a different city. All the people that you want to punish and you want to change are gone. The finance director who said, let's write more tickets to people so we can spend more money, he's gone. The police chief back then is gone. Most of the police officers are gone. Most of the city staff is gone. The city council's all different people. So you're not punishing the people that did the deed because they're all gone.
It's the legislative.
And so in the end, who's getting punished? The people whose potholes aren't getting filled, the people whose hours at the community center are going to get cut, or who aren't going to be able to go to the pool as late in the afternoon because they can't afford to pay lifeguards. That's coming. If we don't stop spending nearly $500,000 a year, most of which is going to lawyers from Washington to do things that really have already been done. Now, the CRB, the Civilian Review Board, they do great work. They're going to keep doing it. And if they want to have seminars, rather than paying the monitor $300 an hour for a seminar, I'll bet we could get a WashU professor to come here and do it for a lot less than $300 an hour. The NPSC will continue doing their work. All of the work will go on we'll just quit paying people from Washington. That's the goal here. Not ending justice, not paving the streets with injustice, not returning to racist practices. None of that is supported by anybody on this council, nor by me. We just want to get the bureaucracy done and continue the good work. That's all.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
I want to say thank you for everybody coming out with their comments. I've listened, I read on Facebook. That's just about it. I'm listening. I don't need the insults. I think when I started, I said I was a good listener, but I do not need the insults. Give me the history, give me your thoughts, and let me listen and make a decision. Like I said, I'm gonna listen here, I'm gonna read on Facebook, and I'm gonna do what's good for the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman.
Keep the money. Keep the money.
Octavia, do you have any miscellaneous?
Keep the money.
Erica,
Another
please.
reminder of Juneteenth. I know someone's already mentioned it tonight, but just another reminder of Juneteenth, this coming Saturday, or the festival at Forestwood Park. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Octavia. Attorney Ryan,
Number for Kim, thank you.
Assistant City Manager.
I want to apologize for Octavia for stealing her thunder. No, I don't have anything else.
Okay, and Mr. Finance Director, since you're here, do you have any?
No comments from me.
Okay, at first I want to thank you all for having me tonight as Mayor Pro Tem. I think that kind of went okay. I appreciate your patience with me. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. I want to say this before I go into my miscellaneous, and I won't be long. We don't always agree, and we don't always have to agree. But people who know me know that I always try to be respectful. I really do, because I want to be respected. So I would never intentionally disrespect anyone. And all I ask in return, I ask that in return. Emotions are high. I mean, this is an emotional subject, and everyone has a right to feel how they feel. I cannot take that away from you. But I just ask that we continue to be respectful of each other. So with that said, my miscellaneous, the next Nesbitt Newton meeting will be on Wednesday, June 25th at 6 p.m. at Nesbitt Newton Park. So please come out, Nesbitt Newton neighbors. Please bring a lawn chair. The Ward 3 North Hills neighborhood meets every third Saturday via Zoom at 10 o'clock. We really are trying to build these neighborhood associations, and we really need the neighborhoods, the people in the neighborhoods to come out. We need neighborhood leaders, but you can go to fergusoncity.com. The Zoom information is on the website. Mayor Jones, Councilman Franklin, and myself, we attended Senator Brian Williams' municipality meeting at the Clayco building on Monday, June 2nd. And just a little small recap of information, these windshield issues. And I talk about windshield issues, I didn't name them that, but the CEO of MoDOT, that's what he calls them, the windshield issues, the trash, the dead animals, the potholes, the speed humps. You know, their goal is to be more customer focused. That's what he says. You know, and I like that approach, because we have to be customer focused. Again, we have to be respectful of each other. He stated that there are 800 to 1,000 work zones throughout St. Louis, and there are 400 active MoDOT long-term projects. And their plan is to rebuild I-70 and make that 3 lanes by 2030. And that's, you said what? Yeah, yes, sir. I'm getting to that. Thank you. And the city has plans to rebuild the airport, just in case you all didn't know. So there are a lot of changes coming to North County, and I want you all to be abreast of them. And as Councilman Franklin stated, they are hiring. They are hiring, and you can call 314-275-1500. They need skilled labor, high school diploma. So you, as long as you have a high school diploma, then you can be a skilled laborer. And they're looking for engineers and survey technicians as well. And so it was a very informative meeting. So I wanted to mention that. Congratulations to the Garden in Ferguson, located at 100 New Florissant Road. The Garden in Ferguson is open Wednesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. The grand opening was Saturday, June 7th. And, you know, please support Ferguson businesses. All Ferguson businesses need that support. And the garden, I love their theme. Their theme is where hope grows. And so hopefully that theme will grow throughout Ferguson. I want to thank you to the Ferguson FPD for coming to celebrate the 95th birthday of True Vine Missionary Baptist Church, which is located in Southwest Ward 3 Ferguson. And the church allows us to have our neighborhood meetings there. So we appreciate the church and we appreciate the Ferguson FPD. And I got a chance to stop by January Wabash on Saturday for the Cops and Boppers with the Ferguson Police Department. The fishing event was organized by the Ferguson Park and Rec Department, and it was just really great to see the families out there. It's always good to see families together in the community of choice. Thank you all, everyone be safe. And with that said, I will ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Lamika Covington.
All in favor? Thank you. Everyone have a good night and be safe.